It's time now for us to review the newspapers. Samuel Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations for you. Our guest in studio is Afel Moni, former president of GJA. And on Zoom, we have Dr. Kwame Asasante. He's head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and of course, the political scientist. And Dr. Jabri Mohammed, he's senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Gentlemen on Zoom, good morning.
Good morning, sweetie. Good to see you, and good morning to Kojo Brace, and of course, my president, Mr. Moni.
Good morning,
Okay.
Prof.
Jabri, want to
Yes,
test
sir.
your mic, so say something.
Yeah,
Dr. Mohammed.
good morning to you.
Okay.
Yeah, super good morning, and good morning to my former lecturer, and good morning to everybody out there.
All right. Over to you, Kojo.
So former lecturer, that is Dr. Asasante, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that we don't assume it's...
No, he's a journalist.
Yeah, Dr. Asasante.
Yeah. So.
Well,
He loves that, identity.
Yeah.
As a journalist,
Yes.
when you speak to him, you have that. Anyway, let's start with our 2 minutes that we give to our guests to make a point on something that they really want to say something on. The money.
DJ election.
No one asked me. Yeah. Okay.
Which will happen on the 30th of June, God willing, and as compared to elections of yesteryears, the upcoming one fails to receive the needed attention, publicity in the media. To say the very least, publicity is minuscule as compared to others. We know such elections are characterized by high voltage tensions, red-hot tempers, and all that. We've been spared these developments, but obviously, I think we need to bring it from the back burner to the front burner, because the media are the fourth branch of the tripartite government. And so whatever they do or fail to do has seismic implications for the other branches, as well as national development, democracy, and national security. So we urging the media community to reset the run-up to the election campaign with urgent promptitude, because it is our election.
Okay.
And we also urge the voters to go beyond the smoke and mirrors and look for competence and character.
Okay.
Because character is leadership, according to LCB, and you also need competence, because this is a position so sensitive, which we want to determine the strategic direction anchored on high professional standards and welfare of journalists. So many journalists are really under pressure, financial pressure. Unlike our brothers and sisters in multimedia, you can tell that Sweetie is okay financially.
Sweetie, you're okay.
Yes.
I'm not. Let's move on, because I can't answer this one. I want money, but I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are issues which will determine who gets elected in the election. So once again, there's a need for the media to,
but really, this has been our story for God knows how long since we've been around. We've been talking about poor remuneration in the media space. We haven't been able to do much about it. I think, was it 5 or 6 during your time or so?
Yeah, we did.
I heard about the bargaining agreement
we
that we're
did
fighting
unionize
for.
the association.
Uh-huh.
So before we came to office, this idea had been incubating. So we took some bold steps to unionize the association. So what needs to be done now is to obtain a bargaining certificate, which will empower the association, like the Ghana Medical Association, to fight for better remuneration for our members.
But that hasn't been done.
That has not been done. Maybe the new administration will prioritize that to ensure that our people get what is due them. And there's a direct relationship between conditions of service and professional output. So this should not be lost in going forward. So that journalists, because many journalists, in some worst case scenario, they are not paid at all. Yeah. And as the saying goes, man must eat, man must survive.
Oh yes, yes.
And the survival instinct, in many instances, pushes some journalists to go to criminal heights in order to survive.
Okay.
Yeah. So we need to take a long and hard look at the conditions of service of journalists and also professionalism. You know, standards are not uniform in the media space. Yeah. And let me say, with the highest sense of pride, that's in multimedia. You exemplify, you embody high professional standards. And this should be replicated across the media space. But this is not what we are seeing. In some instances, what we see is, you know, journalism degenerating into standardless profession. No standards at all. Some prioritize over-injection of jokes. Others blackmail, others, you know, do all kinds of dirty games. So there's a need for us to take a hard look at, again, professional standards, which will go in tandem with better remuneration for our members.
Must those two be the leading factors to determine which leadership we do get for the next administration?
Certainly, yes, because, you know, journalism is a calling. So once you are called, and the calling comes with an obligation. So we have an obligation imposed by public expectations to ensure that we scale up whatever we do. Because journalism has a direct relation with democracy. It is ingrained in theory and even rooted in practice that democracy is impossible without the media. So if our democracy is thriving, striking cause of appreciation, national, international, it's because the media are doing well, even though we have our shortcomings. So if the media do well, if their professionals are well catered for, then you can imagine it presupposes that standards will also rise.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Asante here. Dr. Asante, I don't know whether you follow your president or you have, you know, a different for that issue that you want to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I follow him, but I have a different issue I want to look at.
All right.
I am hopeful, and I have no doubt in my mind that this government has started well. I hope and pray that they stay afloat and make sure that all the things they promise us, they'll be able to deliver. From the little that they've started, there is hope that if they stay on course, we will get to our destination. But I want Mr. President, there's a message to Mr. President, that over the years, economists, financial analysts have always said that the need for us to think about changing the structure of our economy to create opportunity, to create employment for people to make a living. I support that view, and I would like the president to consider as part of his reset agenda that he should not leave office without an industry, because we have been told that industrialization is the key. At least it should be part and parcel of his legacy to leave us an industry that will not fizzle out after his tenure. We want an industry that will survive and create the necessary jobs for people. Look at the crops that we have, the fruits that we have. Can't we turn them around and then add value to them and create jobs? President Kufuor, when he was in office, he went to Creek and they introduced to him about 14 products out of cocoa. I believe that out of this, some industry can be born. Mr. President, we want this thing as part of your legacy. And that's my message for the president.
Okay. I thought you were going to say something on the GJ election because it also concerns you as well.
Yeah,
sorry, I missed it.
I was saying that I thought you were going to say something about the GJ election because it concerns you, being a journalist yourself.
Oh, my president has said it all.
Okay.
Okay. I hope my mother organization would do the needful. We get the right caliber of people who will represent the GJ. The GJ has been very vibrant. and we had great leaders and continue to have great leaders. It's my hope and prayer that we continue to have those who are fit for purpose and then take the conversation a notch further.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Jabir Mohammed here. Doc, 2 minutes for you to tell us what's on your mind.
All right. Thank you. Today, I want to look at the Fitch upgrade of Ghana. Okay. We have been upgraded from a default position to a more stable position, which means that our economy is beginning to pick up and things are beginning to get in a very better situation. But that doesn't give us a license to go into a borrowing spree, because it is projected that our debt to GDP ratio is likely to fall to about 60% of GDP, which means that it's giving us a fiscal space to be able to continue to pile up debt. But mind you, we are already having a debt restructuring program where we still have a pile up of debt to uptake in the next few years to come. And if you continue to pile up, it means that you are only postponing your future payment, your current payment into the future. And it's going to be worrying the future generation. Now, I want to believe that if you want to go in for additional debt, it should be a project-specific debt where you go in to take the money and come in, like Asha Shanti said, to industrialize. If you bring in the money and you want to set up a factory, that will be able to employ people, reduce unemployment, increase productivity, and create the value, which is the wealth out of it. And finally, that wealth will be able to pay off the debt. But if you go there to borrow and come and do recurrent expenditure, you come and use it for elections, you come and use it to pay workers, or you come and use it to do other things that will not bring up, or goods and services that will not bring the needed funding to be able to repay the debt, then you continue to pile up the debt for the future generation. And this would not give us a better, stable economy. They should stay focused. Now we are using, what do you call it? We are using a physical consolidation. So where we are not spending too much in the economy, and we are using a tightening monetary policy. They should continue to remain in that stance so that we can reduce the amount of money in circulation. And if that happens, then we can continue to have a stable currency. We'll continue to have a stable inflation. Then we'll continue to have a better environment for our people to live in. So I believe that this should not be, it's a call on them. This should not be a point for them to now enter into the capital market and begin to borrow like nobody business. They should borrow for specific purposes. We have project-specific financing instruments that should be issued. And those project-specific financing instruments should be used to finance the project so that the project can generate the needed job, as I said earlier on.
All right, and that story has been captured on the front page of the News Center. It says Fitch upgrades Ghana to B negative, outlook stable. I guess all the papers to have it because the custodian also has it. It says minority endorses Fitch upgrade but cautions government against poor budget credibility. So it looks like
on the business update this morning, we're listening to the finance
Bank of Ghana governor,
and he said, don't listen to what anyone is saying. Don't listen to the president. Don't listen to what the newspapers are reporting. Listen to me. And he is saying that the reason
and he added that, I think he added that what the data also says.
Yeah, he also said that don't listen to what the data is saying.
No, he says listen to him and
what he is saying.
And what the data says.
No, he said me, what I'm saying. So I want to run that by Dr. Kwame Assastant. He says we should listen to him. And what he is saying, according to the data he has, is that this upgrade is coming from the work they're doing for the economic rebound agenda and resetting Ghana, the whole thing. Doug, can we really just not take politically? Is it right for the governor to be saying stuff like this? Not to listen to anybody else but him? Not even the president, he said.
It's a very difficult statement, and I think I don't agree fully. Because data is a public information and it can be obtained from different sources, provided we are talking about the same thing. So if there are others who also have the same data and they can share perspectives, why not? Of course. we will also listen to him, but we'll listen to others as well. What about what he's telling us is not the case? So is it a case that we will not have alternative? And I know where he said he will always be truthful with information and all that, but we also owe it as a right to access other information that also tell the same story. After all, if the information is the same out there and I chance upon it and I use it and it speaks volume of what the governor is saying, it's a plus for him. But to restrict us that listen to me and me alone, that it's very, very uneasy for me to accept that, to the extent that we should not even listen to the president. I'm sure that is a little too heavy for me. But we want to assure the governor that we will listen to him, we will follow him, but we will also listen to other sources of relevant information that point to the same statement, and that we can assure him.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, briefly on this.
Well, now what happens is that the Bank of Ghana is the final consolidation of all economic data in the country. The Statistical Service will supply their data, the Ministry of Finance will supply their data, and the Bank of Ghana has the data that is comprehensively covering all the banks, the sources of financing, the release of the financing from the banks to the private sector, etc. So they have the consolidated data, and that is the data they use to normally make the monetary policy announcements. You cannot make that monetary policy announcement without the consolidated data. So I believe that in the purview of it, he wants to say that I possess the final information, and whatever I bring out there is a stable information. So if you look at the Bank of Ghana, you will see the Bank of Ghana Economic Bulletin released in every 3 months before the Monetary Policy Committee comes to give us their report. So if you go into that data, you have every aspect of the economy. And you know, the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance, they operate like a twin, because the physical part is supposed to be giving more information, and the monetary part is the one that controls larger portion of the information that we have within the economy. So when he comes out to make that particular statement, he does not necessarily say that don't listen to the president, but listen to the authenticity of the data that I provide, because the data I provide is going to give you a broad overview of the entire economy and help you to appreciate things better. And I believe that he's, of course, currently, as we stand now, the Bank of Ghana governor is doing very well. In terms of transparency, he's doing very well because the Monetary Policy Committee is now able to report on each member of the committee, what the committee has to say before a decision is taken, which to me is a credible information that is being provided, because in the past, we used not to have everybody information. We used to just have the consolidated information. And that consolidated information was not really given a breakdown. So now there is a renewed form of confidence in the economy because of some of the information that is coming up. So investors are now beginning to have confidence in the system.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, could you?
Well, Doc, we know that next year, Ghana will start paying its creditors, those that we entered into those agreements with. So with the space coming in, what must be the attitude of the government towards borrowing, having in mind the fact that next year we'll start to repay our creditors?
Yeah, so that's why I earlier on stated that it shouldn't be alliances for them to go in for borrowing for recurrent expenditure, and spending in salaries, compensation to employees, or spending in projects that will not allow you to be able to repay back. Borrow on project-specific, what they call it, financing. So when we say project-specific financing, you should have a weighted average, what do you call it, cost that is going to be on the project without recourse, meaning that you cannot use the money to do anything. That project should be able to generate the needed funding to pay back the debts that you are owing, so that at the end of the day, former finance minister used to call it smart borrowing concept. Smart borrowing means that borrow and spend on something that can repay back. Don't borrow and spend on something that you cannot pay back. If you borrow to go and do a road and tow the road, you should be able to pay back. If you borrow and go and do what you call a factory, and the factory is able to employ people and generate the needed wealth, the factory should be able to pay back. Like Asha Shanti said, he said that we should concentrate the resetting agenda should not just be that the president lives without a legacy of an industrialized economy, which for me, I agree to that. We need to industrialize the economy. You are just showing Kube, what do you call it, Kube on the screen. If you look at it, how do you industrialize that sector? We have it a lot. How do you generate oil out of it? How do you come out with cooking oil out of it? What can you use that oil to do besides using it for cooking? Can you use it for other industrial purposes? What value can we add to it? That is what we are saying. Don't just go and borrow because, as a person, I will not go and borrow because I have to go and borrow money. I have to go and borrow and spend on something that can repay back. So that is what our focus should be, so that at least in that manner, when the other, what do you call it, that we start servicing comes in, we can still have the fiscal space to service that. After all, what we are currently facing, we are able to live within our means. So why do you have to go and borrow when you don't need the funding for anything? That brings a lot of corruption. That's why we bring the money, and the money, we don't use it for anything. At the end of the day, we don't see the money, and we haven't seen what we have used it for, and we have to pay for it.
But on that point about not thinking about salaries, we know that some unions and associations are already demanding for improved conditions of service. How then does government balance the need to say, I want to keep my eye on borrowing to satisfy salaries, but still getting my people to be at work by making sure that I satisfy their demands?
Now, match their productivity with their remuneration. What is their level of output? And how much should you pay them based on their output? A lot of people don't do anything, and they are demanding for more money. If you do that, you are just going to worsen your economic situation, because when you spend within the economy, it's supposed to stimulate output, which means that your GDP is supposed to grow. And that means that your taxes and everything will grow at the end of the day. But if you are only paying out money, and that money you are paying out is not stimulating the output you are desiring for, at the end of the day, you are not going to have any positive outcome. So government should look at their demand, but their demand must be matched with their productivity. And like I said earlier on, you should generate the money internally to pay salaries. Okay, it should not be a borrowed funds that are used to pay salaries.
Okay.
Borrowed funds are not meant to pay salaries; they are consumption. So that salary is a consumption amount. It is not an investment. So government should borrow to invest, but not to borrow to consume. That is the argument we are trying to make. So those unions, their salaries must be matched with their output. If that is so, then you pay them based on what they do. So I cannot just demand, and because I demand, then you pay me additional money because you want to calm me down. That doesn't make economic sense.
Yeah, I don't know, something about your voice just went faint. But let's get into the newspapers now. I have a story here. First, let me start with the Ghanaian Times. On the front page, give career magistrates opportunity to upgrade at law school. According to Justice Bright Mensah, is one of the nominees facing the appointment committee. And at Ghana-EU Partnership Dialogue, reform global order to ensure equity and security, financial framework, according to President Mahama. Of course, the story about Fitch upgrading Ghana's credit rating to B- is there with stable outlook. And Sunyain Traditional Council bans Queen Mother from public activities. Yesterday, we reported that there was some sort of gunshot exchanged because of renewed chieftaincy conflict over there. But I also want to take the opportunity to announce this because I think it's very important. The Department of Feeder Roads, National Competitive Tendering, routine maintenance of feeder roads contract invitation for tenders. It occupies about 6-7 pages of the Ghanaian Times this morning. And so if you're interested or if you fall into that category, take note. So specific procurement notice, Government of the Republic of Ghana, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and the Government of the Republic of Ghana has made available funds from the Road Fund for the routine maintenance of selected feeder roads in Ghana under the routine maintenance program for 2025. Pick a copy of the Ghanaian Times for yourself this morning and get into that story. So I want to start from here. 408 prison officers pass out, and the government has reaffirmed its commitment to ensure the completion of the abandoned Nsawam Remand Prison project as part of the ongoing efforts to decongest Ghana's overcrowded correctional facilities. That's the first story. I know we keep talking about how we should reform prison how we can ensure that when people do come out or when they go in there, they are not suffocating to death and so on. So I'll come to you, gentlemen, for your quick reflections on that. On the back page, government considering scrapping blood processing fee, says the health minister. And patients requiring blood for medical procedures may soon heave a sigh of relief as the government is considering scrapping the payment of processing fees for accessing blood. And so the health minister, Kodua Metakando, disclosed this yesterday during an event to commemorate World Blood Donor Day. Actually, it was on last Friday, rather. So that's that. Two stories. Last one, 3,000 smallholder farmers received training in agriculture innovations. And more than 3,000 smallholder farmers and stakeholders within the agricultural value chain have benefited from the revenue diversification pathway in Africa through bio-based and circular agricultural innovations projects. So these are some stories in the Ghanaian Times this morning. Let me start from right here in the studio. Mr. Moni, you've been quiet for a while. Share your thoughts with me. Good call. The government's commitment to complete that in Sawan Remand Road project so that we reduce the overcrowding nature of our prison or correctional facility, I should call it.
The conditions in all our prisons are an indictment on our sense of responsibility, our sense of compassion, our sense of empathy. Many find themselves behind bars in prison, not because they've committed any sin, they violated any law, but some are victims of circumstances, misjudgment at the court, and sometimes they find themselves in a legal fight against the powerful in society. And you know, our system said that the powerful most often have their way. And so this is a clarion call to everyone who has a duty to ensure that we improve conditions in our prisons, to ensure that they are fit to accommodate human beings. Because it's the situation there. Many who come from the prisons lament, but lamentation is not enough. There's a need for concrete action to ensure that we accord them the dignity they deserve. You know, dignity from the Latin ridiculous is mean ornament. So it's the most important aspect of your life. So if your dignity is dented, punctured, trampled upon, then you know we are being regarded as no human. So our people in the prisons, due to certain circumstances, are urging the authorities to sharpen their focus and ensure that life there is fit for purpose. So the roads leading there, we hear that the roads are in a bad shape.
Yeah.
Governs Kwame Agboja, the roads minister, this is a special appeal to you. I know he see the road running, and he's so far so good. He's shown that he's the right person at the right place and at the right time. And it is not within the bounds of possibility for him to fix all roads in this country, but there's a need to prioritize certain roads. I like the way he's tackling the Accra Flower Road. That road is so important, but the state of that road is nothing else. It's again, it doesn't speak well of our sense of priorities as a nation. So governance, Your Excellency, your Honorable Governor Agboja, this is one assignment you need to tackle with urgent promptitude.
I want us to stay on the road because I just gave the information about the bidding, competitive bidding for regular maintenance of these roads. I think that we don't use the best quality materials when we are constructing our roads, which requires us to always go back less than a year in between there and fix potholes and manholes, because these days some of the roads, the holes we see are manholes. Is this a prudent way to spend government money? Regular maintenance every time we're maintaining, and the list here goes on. Every region it cuts across, and so they're asking people to come for these contracts so they can maintain. I've heard stories about people, even contractors, taking monies and they just go and patch some things with sand. You know, when it comes into regular, maintenance, what's it called, M&E, monitoring and evaluation of how we are spending the money and all that. Is this the best way to go to maintain our...
I think the first approach is to ensure that the rules are constructed according to specifications. And when we are on a special tour with PIAC, in areas, in roads constructed with oil money, we realized that many of the roads were not constructed according to specifications. On paper, you see about 10 inches, but in reality, when you go to the site, you see about 2 inches, 3 inches. So many, about 7 inches, money involving 7 inches have just been...
When these heavy truck cars fly that road 2-3 times, the damage begins again.
So we need to hold contractors to account, making sure that they construct quality roads, durable roads. Look at Accra Tema motorway. More than 65 years now, it has outlasted all roads in this country. And this shows that the president who constructed it is not in the same bracket with all others who came after him. So,
but Mr. Wani, should it only be the contractors? What about because we have project consultants?
I was coming to that. Those also certify the rules.
Because the reason I'm asking this question is I praised the contractor on the Takwa Agunan-Kwanta Road only to see distractions. Just the road is not up to a year, right? The Takwa Road. But you see some obstructions developing on the road. And from people who are insiders, they say, oh, I mean, the consultant was not listening to us, the local people. So when we say they should use this material, so not just the contractor, but the Ghanaian consultant.
Consultants.
Okay.
Yes, I was coming to that. They should also be held accountable. Because, this is causing financial loss to the state. It's not only politicians who feed fat on our resources, but contractors and inspectors who certify badly constructed roads and yet take huge sums at the expense of the state. Ours is a nation which is crying for all kinds of basic needs. So many sectors are crying. And if up to now, we have children, studying under trees. When it rains, then no school. So we are sentencing the present generation to social misfit. So this is a time for us. If you are resetting, and this goes to His Excellency the President, the reset should not be focused on governance, focused in fighting corruption. This is another avenue where people siphon money, where people reap where they have not sown. So this is the time, and the media should also mobilize their lenses to go to such site. Naming and shaming is a powerful punitive tool. So we should name and shame contractors, name and shame consultants who conspire to steal from the state.
Yeah. Anyway, let's bring in Dr. Asante. Dr. Asante, your take on this. How best we can put Ghana's meager resources to use in terms of road construction?
We are not serious as a state. That is one, first one. Because why am I saying this? We have heard this story time and again. We give money for people to execute projects. Is there people who supervise? And okay, as my president said, what are those people doing? Meanwhile, they draw salary from government payroll. What is the point? If somebody can do any shoddy work and it can pass, then what's the point of we sponsoring such a project? We are not interested in standards. We are interested in cutting corners, undermining our own future, and then creating problems for ourselves. I believe that if we want to do good job, we can do. But from where I sit and from look of things, I have no doubt in my mind that our people don't want to give us, durable roads that will stand the test of time. Kwame Nkrumah constructed Temamutu, I think 1958, thereabout. But look, the road from, many roads in Ghana have deteriorated. And we still have what? Motorway solid. Even though that project was highly criticized, but today it has shamed all the critics and it has been the best, one of the best for this country. Why can't you emulate? We saw, growing up as a little boy, I saw Swedru contractors who constructed Akran-Sahome Road, super road. What has happened to this? We need to up our game and make sure that we build a society we can call our own. If we want to undermine our own society, we'll have our fingers bent. I'll move on to look at the issue of career magistrates. Good call from the judge, and I was happy when the Judicial Service or Judicial Council decided that they will get all non-lawyers out to create a judicial system or a court system that you have lawyers, representing the lower courts in this country. I was, it was very interesting to note that we have a few of them who exist in the system. They are in rural areas and all that. I am for the core, so that they will also go through the training, and then they also get the necessary professional qualification and academic qualification. Because for independence of the judiciary, there are a number of requirements, but one of such requirements is that you need what? Professional education and academic education. Once you are equipped with that, it gives you, as a judge, your independence that you need. And let me extend the conversation a little further. Yesterday, when I was listening to some of the interviews, I realized that we were, giving good treats, and I must commend members of parliament. On a good day, you can trust Afenyo Makan. That I can say for sure. Yesterday, he won my admiration. Yesterday, 3 days and all that. The questions, because you see, we have been criticizing them. So if they do a good job, we should also come out to say that, hey, you got it right. This issue of vetting and all that started from Athens and started with Solon when he introduced reforms into the system that gave birth to democracy. But one of the institutions he has established was the Documasia. Documasia was a body of people who were going to vet people and then use them to represent the state at whatever level. And that is exactly, we saw the Documasia, that is the vetting committee, doing stuff. Because the whole essence of their interview is that you have to find out whether people have some idea about the office they are going to occupy. And you saw that this time, no questions about, look, are you a lodge member? Or no question about where do you fellowship and the rest of them. But specific question relative to their work. And for me, I dove my heart for members of parliament yesterday. They made me proud. The chairman was also up to the task. Where there was digression, he was quick to bring them to book. And Afenyo Makan made my day, in addition to the rest of them. This is the democracy we want to build. Okay. And then I'll move on to this funding for agri-innovation. Agriculture should be the way forward to all our problems in this country. So if there is the need for us to fund agriculture in such a way that we can get a lot of people with innovative ideas to bring into that sector, I am for it. Because there are a lot that agri can do for us, but except that we have abandoned it. So I am with this government that it is putting a lot of focus on agriculture. Yes. I want them to tie this thing to what? Irrigation. And that brings me to what? The Pualugu Dam. We need that because it's a multi-purpose dam that will deal with spillage from Bagri, and that will also help us in what? Irrigating those lands there for agricultural purposes. And of course, that is also another buffer for Akosomo Dam in terms of what? Excess water. So we need that. Once we stay on this trajectory, I have no doubt in my mind that we will become the beacon of hope in the sub-region. I have no doubt in my mind.
Thank you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Dr. Mohammed, it's your take now. I mean, on the issue of the roads, let's start there. Because these funds that the government said they've made available from the road fund, And as long as we've had this road fund, which the primary objective is to maintain or upkeep the longevity of our roads, if we're actually judiciously using these monies for that, we will be seeing the level of deterioration we are seeing on our roads. But it's your take now.
Absolutely no. If the funds were properly utilized for the purpose within which the funds were set up for, I don't think that we will have the kind of bad rules that we have. Bear in mind that even every sector of the economy, anything good you have to do, it has to be backed by efficient transportation system. Just not being only on road, but the rail, the air, everything must be efficient. But what do we see? We see even the roads leading to our homes being very bad, the road leading to our farms being very bad. That notwithstanding, if they have issued out the contract notice for people to respond, what the interest of the politicians? What are the interests of those offering the contract to them? You hear bring upfront 10%. And if the person should pay 10% of the total value of the project, it means that the project has been cut off by 20% because you also take 10% and put aside. When he gives 10%, you also keep 10% aside. Then come to people who come to engineer and approve the processes of the road and everything. He keeps slapping people with part of the money. By the time you realize he has used less than 30% to complete the road and collect 100%. That has been the bane of our problem as a country. Now, what should government do? Even with that, sometimes government don't even pay them on time, delay in payment. They have to go to the bank to go and borrow. Interest rates are piling up. People are borrowing at a rate of 28%, 30%. How do you expect them to be able to do quality work on the ground? So I think that holistically, we have to look at it and see that we need to be able to find even sometimes the nature of the contractors. Sometimes they are party contractors. They are not people who are skilled contractors. They don't even have the civil engineering component of it. They don't even have proper financial engineering. They just do things anyhow. People go there, they dig gutters, and they say they have constructed a road. And also what is more even annoying is that they finish and they do a whole lot of speed ramps. The speed ramps are not even measured by the level of vehicles that we have. You see that a speed ramp is even higher than the nature of vehicles that people use. So have you surveyed the area to know the quality of vehicles people use? What kind of speed ramps are you supposed to put over there? So most of these things are a lot of problems that our country will face. The quality of the road, if you go outside, look, I went to South Africa, I went to Kenya and other places. I saw them actually blocking part of the road and removing things that are not okay and reconstructing the main roads. And even some of their feeder roads, this is what they do. Look at this country. If you pick Accra and Sowam Road, you will see that component of it, even the beams around and the walls, people are even chiseling it and taking the iron rocks out.
Right.
That is the nature of it. So the maintenance of our roads are very bad. Now let me move to the prisons.
Before you do, we've always been circling around the issue because this issue, we may be here next year to talk about it. How do we permanently, end it in a long term, such that we won't be here tomorrow to say we misapplied money in constructing a road, which is bad tomorrow. What do we really need to do?
Now, for me, the best thing to do is that if a road is constructed and we go there and things are not done properly, from the contractor to the civil engineer to the person who award the contract, let's charge them as people who have caused financial loss to the state. Okay. Let them pay. Let them vomit all the money out. And after that, if they are found culpable of misapplying the funds, we imprison them. If you take that tough stance, I believe that others will follow. Look, I don't mind constructing a road, and when I'm done, the little profit I have, I share with you, rather than coming to give you 10% upfront. If I'm a contractor, I will not subscribe to that. I will subscribe to profit sharing. When I'm done, I come and give you a component of my profit as a token. That is allowable. But to force me to go and cough out 10% or 15% to come and give it to you upfront. For you to go and do what? What have you done?
They got you the
These
contract. That's how it happens, you know.
So you see, if you look at China and other countries develop because of collective bargaining. Collective bargaining simply means that politicians trying to trade off their current benefits and looking more into the future. China 30 years ago was not the way they are today. Wait and see, they have the best technology today because their leaders traded off their personal interests and look at the general will of the people. And that is how come that China has gotten to where they are today. And even other Asian countries. Look at Hong Kong and others were ahead of China. Today, China is ahead of them and challenging the US and other places.
Yeah.
All the sophisticated equipment and other things are coming from China. What have they done? It is about leadership. We have bad leadership in this country, no matter what may be the case. And people are not reasonable and responsible enough. We want to always amass wealth at the expense of doing the right thing for all of us to benefit. A quality road is for all of us. It's not for only you.
We can move on to your other reflections now. Time is running out.
Now, the prisons are supposed to be reforms. But what do you see? People go there, they come back, they want to go back. Okay? They want to go back because maybe the marginal benefit of being out there is more suffering than if they're there and they're finding food to eat every day.
Okay.
But if you go there and you reform them very well, there is something called economics of crime. In economics of crime, people look at the benefit of...
Forgive us, we'll come back to you. But let's bring in the General Secretary of the NPP, who is joining us on the phone, lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong. Lawyer, grateful to you for joining us. We understand that you had the NEC meeting for your party yesterday, and there were some decisions that were taken. We would want to understand these decisions and the reasons why they were taken. For example, we know that you're saying your flag-bearer election must be done earliest by the end of March 2026. Is that it?
Kodua, thank you, and good morning to your listeners. Yes, it is indeed true that yesterday it's not just NEC that met, it's NEC and National Council that met yesterday to deliberate on several issues before them. Yes, a committee led by or chaired by lawyer Frank David, which is in charge of looking at the constitutional amendment of our chief, came to submit their report to National Council. And they deliberated on several issues or several proposals that came before them. And as many as about 300 proposals were sent to their committee. And they took their time to summarize what the proposals entailed. And key among their discussion was the call for the party to hold presidential elections early. And one of the reasons, or some of the reasons that they gave, were that looking at where the party is at the moment and also monitoring the party's social media platform or several social media platforms, and even discussions on television stations among members of our party, and the acrimony and the rancor playing in various platforms. It is imperative that for the sake of party unity and cohesion, it is important that we hold our presidential primaries early so that all these noise and acrimony will either go down or will be eliminated. So that was one of the main reasons why they advocated that the proposals that they have received, many are of the view that we need to hold our presidential primaries early. Then again, they also refer it to National Council that per our constitutional provisions, it lies within the bosom of National Council to decide the date for our presidential primaries, and they will request National Council to take that decision. So after their submission, National Council went further to deliberate on the presidential primaries. Some made strong argument that we need to hold on with the timing for the presidential primaries. Others were also of the view that we need to hold the presidential primaries early. But at the end of the day, the majority of members of the National Council made that definite position that we need to hold the presidential primaries early, and went ahead to set January 31st, 2026 as the date for us to hold our presidential primaries. But for purposes of our discussion, I'll make reference to Article 13, one of our party's constitution, which I'll read, that the election of the party's presidential candidate shall be held not later than 24 months from the date of the national election.
Okay.
The date and venue for the election shall be decided by the National Council, provided, however, that the National Council may, on appropriate occasions, vary the date. So, therefore, the powers and the authority to decide the date for our presidential primary certainly lies in the bosom of the National Council. And the National Council, by overwhelming majority, are of the view that 31st January is the right date for us to hold our presidential primaries.
But yesterday, one of the people who vied for this flag bearership in your last primaries, Mr. Boakye-Agyarko, said, and I want to bring what he says, that it is total nonsense and greed for presidential primaries to be held before other executive elections. What's your response?
I find that statement as very unfortunate, and just a sentimental statement that he has made. Because to start with, Mr. Boakye-Agyarko is a member of National Council. So at least if he had come for the meeting, he could have made his point also known. And we are a democratic party. You may have varied or different opinions. But at the end of the day, you will be heard. But it is the majority that will take the decision. That's the beauty of our multi-party democracy. As General Secretary, I always had my opinion. And everyone is also entitled to have his own opinion. But per our institutional provision, the National Council has the right to take that decision. But it's rather unfortunate that he couldn't attend the meeting. And perhaps if he had attended the meeting, he could have made his position also known.
But has it ever happened that you conduct a flag bearership primaries before the national executive elections?
Well, we are practicing democracy, and our constitution is a living document. And at the end of that, any point in time, depending on the circumstances and the issues at hand, the party can decide to chart a certain path. And nothing prevents or denies the party from taking that step. So every activity one embarks on, you always have to start from somewhere. So whether it's the first time, whether it's a continuity, this is what the majority of the National Council members feel has to be done for the party, for the sake of having, or say, of forging ahead in unity and also in cohesion.
Mr. Afripon Kodua, I mean, you've enumerated the reasons why you are holding this election early, and it looks like it's coming from the leadership of the party. What have you gathered from the grassroots? Also, on the background of the defeat you suffered in 2024, the way it appears that the party isn't united. I'm referencing the thank you tour that we saw fights, we saw party leadership, you know, in a very disarraying manner. Are you sure, have you gathered that the grassroots, your people at the grassroots, are also ready for such an early election?
Well, for a party with the stature of the NPP, certainly we have millions of members and supporters. It is understandable that not all of us will be in addendum with decisions that the leadership of the party will take. But as it stands now, these are the current, or we are the current crop of leadership that we have. And at the end of the day, per our constitutional dictates, we have reps from every region and who comes to National Council, and per the discussion that transpired, the majority of the view that this is what has to happen, because looking at the acrimony and the rancor within the various structures of our party, if the presidential primaries are conducted early, it will be able for us to have enough time to do reconciliation and to unite the party for the elections in 2028. And as we indicated, we went to the elections, and the way, the manner in which the party suffered means that there has to be a drastic and radical changes in our approach going to the 2028 election. And the National Council feels that this is the best approach for us to take.
How are you managing people skewing or the perception of people influencing members of your party to, lean a certain way, which is bringing some sort of confusion or conflict among, members and leadership of the party? How are you going to manage that?
Well, I've always been making this point that as General Secretary of the party, I always side with the Constitution. Whatever action or whatever decision or step that anyone has to take, if you are on the side of the Constitution or the Constitution supports you, then so be it. So at the end of the day, let us all be guided by the Constitution of the New Patriotic Party. If people are embarked on our activities or thoughts which is an affront to our Constitution, then that would be a discussion for us to have. But so far as I'm aware and so far as I'm concerned, I would follow the directives and dictates of our Constitution. And in body politics, certainly there are always decisions, there are always mistrust, and all this comes into play. But at the end of the day, as leadership, it's our to remain neutral and firm to make sure that what the Constitution says is what we are going to apply.
What about your delegate system? What decision was taken on that? Because earlier there were proposals of expanding the system.
Yes, so all these issues also came up at the National Council meeting. And with respect to the expansion, there are proposals that have been sent. And National Council did not have the authority to decide to either accept those proposals or not. But that does not lie in the bottom of National Council. So whatever proposals that has been sent to the amendment committee, they have given it to the party, and by close of day today, we will circulate those amendments for the party leadership and also executives to have a view of what the proposals are so that they can prepare themselves for the July Congress. So the circulation will be done today, and whatever proposal that has been given with respect to the expansion, whether it's a limited expansion, whether it's a one-man, one-vote, all these proposals will be made known to the stakeholders of the party.
So do I get it that these decisions you took here yesterday are not final?
Well, with respect to the constitutional provisions of our party, as I indicated under Article 13.1, the decision to hold presidential primaries, the date, the venue, lies within the bosom of National Council.
Okay.
So it's National Council that can vary its own decision again, unless the superior body, like the National Delegate Conference, comes in to amend the decision of the National Council.
In this 9th Parliament, there's one constituency that still have no representation. I'm talking about the Ablekuma North constituency. While you're heading into the elections, what is your strategy to resolve that stalemate there?
Well, that issue also came up yesterday, and the party took a position on it. For as it stands now, the party is of the view that the current government, the NDC government, and the Ghana Police Service are in connivance to deny and prevent the Electoral Commission from completing the processes. The reason why is that the party wrote a letter to the Electoral Commission to inquire from the Electoral Commission why, up to date, they have not been able to complete the collation of Ablekuma North. And at the same time, wrote a letter to the Ghana Police Service to also respond to why they have not been able to provide security for the Electoral Commission to complete the process. From the response from the Ghana Police Service first, what they said is that they have received a petition or complaint from the NDC that there's a case pending before the Supreme Court. And if they make any attempt to provide security for the Electoral Commission, they will be in contempt of the court. And that they have referred the NDC petition to Attorney General for advice. 2, the response from the Electoral Commission says that for them, they have done all the collation of the polling stations except for 3 polling stations. And they have had several engagements with the Ghana Police Service. And in that meeting, the Ghana Police Service raised the issue of a pending suit at the Supreme Court, which the Electoral Commission also denied, that there's no pending suit at the Supreme Court to prevent the Ghana Police Service for coming in to provide security. And we in the NPP, we also are aware that there's no pending suit at the Supreme Court to prevent the Ghana Police Service from coming to provide security for the Electoral Commission to do its work. So definitely, it's a clear machination. It's a deliberate attempt by the government and the Ghana police to deny the Electoral Commission from completing the collation of the 3 polling stations, because they know that the NDC had lost the elections at Ablikumanov. But if indeed the NDC had won Ablikumanov elections, they would have sped up the process by encouraging the Ghana Police Service to provide security for the Electoral Commission to complete the collation.
All right. But General, we're grateful to you for speaking to us this morning. So that's Justin Kodua Frimpong. He is the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Well, let's come into the studio and continue. Ghanaians
love their politics, so when it comes up like that, we need to get into it, get all the details. But I'm done with my papers. No, actually, we were with Dr. Mohammed. Okay. He was talking about Dr. Mohammed. Our apologies, we cut you short there. I believe we were discussing something on the road still. Or had we moved on from there?
He had moved to do
Okay, please, your take now.
Yeah, so I was on the prison service. The point I was making was that, it's supposed to be a reformist kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when people go there and they come out, some people will want to go back. Then I was making a point that they look at the marginal benefit of being in the prison as compared to being on the streets. So if they realize that in the prison, they were getting 3 square meals to eat, and when they come to the street, they are not getting, they will commit another crime to go there. But I think that we should have a reform that is able to give them the best training, maybe a skilled training. So the National Apprenticeship Program, it should not just be for people who are free. We have to take an arm of it to the prisons so that we can set up a skill for people in the prison. They can also benefit. When they come out and he can do medicine, he can do carpentry work, he can do proper plumbing work and all of that. I don't think that some of them will go into the crimes that they commit.
Okay.
But mind you, a criminal is always a criminal. Even in the space of that job, they will sometimes commit a crime. But the reform should also be that they reform them in terms of their religious obligations and other related things, so that when they come out as complete human beings, and they will be in a better position to solve the problems that they have in society. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to comment on is going to be the blood processing fee being scrapped at the hospitals. I think that this is a good call for our health. A lot of people go to the hospital, especially sometimes when women have to deliver, they need blood to be able to do so. So I believe that we are gradually solving the problem of many of our mothers who keep increasing our population and who keep sustaining God creation. So I do hope that this is going to be a good call, and this is going to help strengthen the health sector, because health and the quality of humans are important for national growth and economic development. You cannot develop any country without the quality of health of the people. So that quality is very important. And quality blood is important for our health. Without blood, we cannot live.
Kojo, there was the visuals we saw. If that's how our prisoners are treated, then the danger of overcrowding prisons is not just on them. It's also to the prison officers, because this heat can get to your head. You can decide to just take something and hit somebody. If this is really how we treat and pack our prisoners in prisons, then I think we should escalate these calls we are making for prison reforms. Can you look at that?
Yeah, I see it. Well, but Doug wanted to make a point earlier
on
yeah.
NPP. I'm compared to Sprinkle.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Stardust of commendation on the leadership of NPP.
Okay.
For choosing to go to Congress early. Before then, we were lingering doubts about the ability of the party leadership to contain the acrimonious comments, acidic allegations, combustible rhetoric and all that. But they've responded to the situation at the right time to ensure the party is on course to contest election 2028. So Justin Kodua and others, God bless you for doing the right thing at the right time and putting the party on the right track. Readiness for election 2028.
You want to make a point on the prisons?
I've already said it, and best repeating.
He did.
That we need to sharpen up focus on the prison.
All right.
Any more papers?
I think the news center is say EcoBank invest $24 million in short project, create 3,000 jobs. ECG East, Accra East, ECG to recover 200 million cities debts. 1,267 killed in 5 months. That's through road accidents. And listen to this. Motorcycles alone killed 582 people. That's 45.9% of the total. So we need to watch out.
On Still tied to our roads.
City on ECG, let me make a special appeal to the authorities. As you speak, the only state-owned broadcasting station
GBC
is off air. GBC radio, GBC television is off air.
Hey.
Yesterday, ECG officials went there to cut off their power supply.
They owe about 15 million, a little over 15 million, and 10 million out of that to ECG proper, and about 4-5 million of that to Netco.
But who has to pay for GBC?
Was making that appeal for tax waivers, and they should get some clemency on their debt. So I mean, that bullet had their names etched on it.
So this is This is our state property. So millions are being deprived.
Once we agree that it's our state property, they charge for services rendered, don't they? GBC
charge, but GBC doesn't break even.
So how do they utilize those monies they get from their services?
To meet operational costs. Because their day-to-day is not covered by government.
But isn't the operational cost, isn't the electricity cost part of the operational cost?
It is, but yet, if you go to GBC now, so many allowances have been cancelled. Basic necessities cannot be provided because, the media environment is such that, how many media institutions break even now? It's a hairy situation.
But Mr. Wani, I get it that we need to protect the state broadcaster.
Yeah.
But if, as you say, they get revenue, and that revenue is meant for the day-to-day running of the organization.
You need to match the revenue they spend against what they spent.
Yes.
There's a huge hole. There's a there's a mismatch.
The volume of electricity that is GBC consumes. It's nothing that day-to-day revenue would cover.
But who has to help?
We also say they have legacy debt.
So we should square this policy against the invaluable service they render to the deprived areas of this country. Accra is listed with so many radio and television stations. So
that's what I want to find out from you. Who has to help them? It's the government.
Yes.
Government has to.
Government has to help.
So, for example, this debt, should it be taken over by government? Is this something government has to take
over? I think they can reach an amicable agreement with SCG government.
Is it government's responsibility?
I think certain ministers should step in now. Honorable Phyllis Kwachofosu, the boys in your courts, use all your influences to ensure that GBC is back on air. GBC Radio, GBC TV should be back on air because many Ghanaians are being deprived of the oxygen of information.
But if they don't pay to Mr. Money, it will come to us to pay.
For instance, Kolebu and the presidency have been spared from paying electricity bills.
So they should spend GBC.
Of the vital service they render. GBC also qualifies in view of the fact that many Ghanaians are dependent on their services. And their services are so vital in certain areas of this country.
Okay.
So we need to act with urgent property to address this issue.
Okay, all right. Let's see how that goes. This has been the news review on. But okay, let me go to Dr. Asas Sante to have the last bite. I'm told that we don't have him. So we are grateful to you for being a part of us. This has been news review. We had in studio Mr. Afel Moni, is former president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Mr. Moni, thank you so much for coming.
Mr. Medas.
Okay, and thanks to you too for watching. Keep watching us. We'll take a short break. We will be back with more. But remember, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. Do stay with us. We'll be back.